I'm going to do a determination of quorum. Mr. Reyes?
Here.
Mr. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Anderson?
Here.
Mr. Mattson?
Here.
Secretary Lukowitz?
Here.
Vice Chairman Colunian?
Here.
Chairman Flynn is here. We have two excused, Mr. Kenny and Mr. Burke. We have a quorum of 7 tonight. Okay, emergency evacuation. Out those doors behind you, left to right, and behind us, straight out, takes you out to the back. Okay, let's stand, please, for Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, before I start the minutes, I'd like to welcome Mr. Smith to the board tonight. This is his first meeting. Thank you for dedicating your time, Mr. Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Flynn.
Okay, approval of minutes, 5.1, July 28th, 2021 meeting. I have a motion to approve those minute meetings.
Motion to approve the.
Motion by
July
Mr. Mattson. Do I have a second?
Meeting.
Second.
I have a second by Ms. Lukowitz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. 5.2, August 10th, 2021, Maryann's Manor Sidewalk. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes on that?
Somebody that went on the sidewalk.
I make a motion.
I have a motion for approval by Ms. Lukowitz. I have a second.
I'll second it.
All right, I have a second by Mr. Reyes. Any discussion on the sidewalk? Anything, Sandy? The
No.
one on Hill Farm? Okay, hearing no discussion. Take a motion. Took a motion, have a discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, I have an August 10th, 2021 Hill Farm Camp Sidewalk. That was, do I have a motion to approve that sidewalk minutes?
I make a motion to approve the site
I
walk.
have a motion by Ms. Lukowitz, a second.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Reyes. Any discussion?
No.
No discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any all those in favor? Aye. Any, hearing none? Motion carries. August 11th, 2021, Poor Farm Road Sidewalk minutes. I have a motion for approval.
I make a motion for approval.
Motion for approval, Ms. Lukowitz.
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Reyes. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none? Minutes are approved. Okay, 6.1, we have a ratification of 2 decisions. The first one is the Woods at Red Brook Phase 3, applicant Shoreline Properties, Inc., owner Offshore Development LLC, approval with stipulations, a preliminary plan for proposed 36-unit multifamily planned unit development project, of which 5 units will be affordable, and 24-foot paved right-of-way, AP 24, Lot 125, Zone PUD, Red Brook Lane. I have a motion to ratify.
Motion to ratify.
Motion by Mr. Mattson to ratify, second by Mr. Colunian. All those in favor? Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Motion carries. 6.2, 800 Gibson Hill Road, owner Michael P. Baird Trust, applicant same, approved with stipulations of preliminary plan for a proposed 2-lot minor subdivision with a 1 existing home, AP 319, Lot 12, Zone 5, 800 Gibson Hill Road. I have a motion to ratify.
Motion to ratify.
I have a motion by Mr. Mattson. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Lukowitz. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. None opposed? Motion carries. I will say one thing on the discussion. Mr. Baird was okay, we're coming back for final. We will get out to see that property before he comes back. Because of the weather, we couldn't get out to see it. But if anybody's listening, we will be out to see that before he comes back to final. Okay, recommendation to zoning board of review. Recommendation to zoning board of review for special use permit. Stonewall Academy, applicant, Stonewall Farms LLC, CO Owen and Dawn Haynes. Owner Green Acres Healthcare, CO Kevin Ryan. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to operate a private elementary school, AP 313 lots 2.1 and 16, zone RR5, address 2052 Plainfield Pike. Anybody here for the applicant? Come on up.
Good evening, referring to the creation on behalf of the applicant.
Okay.
So this application is to turn,
Go ahead.
so this application is to turn an existing nursing home that closed earlier this year into a private elementary school. This property has had a non-conforming for over 20 years. It's currently zoned as RR5, which is why it necessitates the special use permit. Per the zoning ordinance, one of the biggest concerns in an RR5 district for a use like this would be access to utilities. And the most important thing I can say about this application is there's no property development happening. This property is fully developed. It already has access to water, electricity, has a completely established on-site water treatment system. It has lighting, it has trash set up. It's good to go. They're just looking to utilize the property as already established. The zoning for this property is residential. It's worth noting that all other schools in the town are zoned residential. The two most notable would be Western Coventry, which is located on 117. It's a similar area and a more busy road. That's zoned residential, and that's a good elementary school. And then the current town hall annex, which up until the 2001-2002 school year was Washington Oak, and then became the Flat River Middle School, again on 117, and it didn't change from a school because of its location. The way that they're looking to operate the school, they want to start with approximately 50 students. Anything bigger than that would be based on interest of parents in enrolling their kids. They are tapped out at state regulation between 180 and 200, so it could never be more than that. They're looking at hours of operation, a school day of 8:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. with drop-off times in the morning starting at 7:30 and pick up no later than 6 p.m. They're not looking to have buses. It's individual drop-off. Sometime down the line, they may look into getting a school van to do some pickup and drop-off, but there's not going to be first student giant buses or any bus traffic in that area. As far as extracurricular activities, they want to do everything outside when possible. They might have some after-school tutoring, an after-school care program, and some skills building games. I know the applicants are looking at like a life-size chess set to teach kids logical reasoning and to do it outside. Same thing with recess. They're looking to have 3 recesses a week for 15-minute periods, and the area for recess would be right under the 0.03. There's a fenced-in area with a gazebo. They would do recess there, and then across the driveway is a giant field that they're looking to fence in. That would also be a recess area or an after-school area. That's where they're looking to do that. Any after school or extracurricular activities would be happening on weekdays. If they did something on a weekend, it would be a one-off, a festival, a holiday party, something like that. Down the line, it's not built into the school year. So there wouldn't be any weekend interruptions. As far as signage, currently there is a sign for the nursing home that is rather large. They don't plan on going any bigger. And in fact, after speaking with them, they're looking to take it down. They think it interferes with sight line coming out of the driveway and coming down the road. So they would just do a sign on the side of the building, nothing extra. They're not looking to change the lighting. There's already spotlights and stuff in place from the nursing home. As far as trash, it's a private trash situation there now. They're looking to continue that, to have a private contractor. Ultimately, the biggest thing here is they're not developing the property. It's an already developed property. Anything in this area, a legal use of this property, requires a special use permit because it's a residential area, and they just want to use it in a way that they feel would be beneficial or enrich the surrounding area.
Sounds good. Any questions from anybody on the board?
I have a few questions.
Go ahead, Rick.
Sure.
What's across the street? Because that lot's included with the application.
That's underground is the OWTS system.
So it's on the other side of the road. So there'll really be no use going on that side
Correct.
of the property.
It's just the OWTS system.
And I know you mentioned there may be an event occasionally on a weekend and you've got the parents dropping off. How much parking is there?
There's a full parking lot. It was a fully functioning nursing home
Right.
up until earlier this year.
Right. So that was for nurses and visitors and employees. So I'm trying to gauge 50 to as many as say 150, 200.
So the goal would be drop-offs would be coming in, looping around and coming out. And then there is parking. They're open if it's required to make some additions as far as the parking area, if necessary.
Right. But when you said looping around, do they have to?
So there's an existing driveway to the left right here. And there's
Okay.
enough space to like,
Goes around the building.
yeah.
Okay. And then,
And if necessary, they are open to making another driveway to loop it if that's required.
and where would the students be? I know you said you've already got 50 pretty much committed.
No, that's the minimum they're looking to do. They,
Okay.
the way that the Rhode Island Department of Ed works is if you're applying for a school year starting in September, you can't apply until the April before.
Is this considered like regional? Are you drawing from Coventry, surrounding
It's
areas?
private. It'd be more like the Green Schools lottery, but it'd be like a Prout situation or a
So
LaSalle.
anyone from Rhode Island, maybe Connecticut too, or just Rhode Island?
I'm
He's
looking for, yep, anywhere.
okay. Thank you.
I got one, you done?
Yep.
Go
I got
ahead.
one question. What's the closest neighbors? I see a couple of buildings. If you bring it down. See, there's a building right there. Is that your property? And then the building up on top, right up there, see up there. I just wanted to know, is that,
I can have, the applicant is here. He's more familiar with the physical of the property.
So on the top where you are now is a,
Just give your name and address for the record, please.
I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I live at 1890.
It's okay.
Owen Haynes, I live at 1890 Plainfield Pike. I'm one of the applicants.
Thank you.
The arrow that you're on now, that building is a single family dwelling. It's on the north side, obviously. And then the only other dwelling, that one you're on there is a barn.
oh,
That's part of that single family dwelling. And across the street, you see a house at the bottom. That's another single family dwelling.
all right, because there's a lot of brush in front of that, so that should be good. I just making sure that wasn't a house right on the playground, but that's. a
Yeah,
barn.
that's actually an old barn.
All right,
Yeah,
all right, thank you.
no problem.
Anybody else on the board have any questions for the applicant?
So, Mr. Chair, I got one question. No, you go right ahead, sir. And maybe it is for you. So, this is like the first time I've seen something like this. Like all our schools have sidewalk and flashing lights and crosswalks, but I guess that doesn't pertain to a private school. Like I'm just trying to picture a private school that I know of in the state, like even the Payne School up in Foster or something. There's always a sidewalk. So we don't care about that as a commission. We're not worried about it as a town. That's all. I don't know if there was regulations or you can just put up a school without these.
That's a good question. It is a commercial use though. but-
That's a good question.
I'm going to defer to see what the planning director thinks, but that's a good point. Is that a state road? That's Plainfield Pike, right? Route 14. That's a change in use that requires a physical alterations permit from the Department of Transportation.
That was my question.
Yep.
Do they need a physical alteration permit from the roundabout?
My guess would be they do.
My
So,
guess would be the two do. It's a change in use.
and that will address the items that Mr. Anderson
It's a
brought up.
state road. Good question.
Yeah. Do you have an answer for us on that?
So the way that this is working is the applicants don't currently own the property. If they can obtain the special use permit, they're going to purchase the property. They need the special use permit before they can take any other steps. They need to be able to open the school. So the town has to give them permission to use this as a school before they can go and get other permitting. It doesn't necessarily mean they'll be granted that permitting and they will go forward with opening the school.
Similar to this application tonight, the Department of Transportation's physical alterations permit process will allow you to make an application as an applicant with someone else owning the property. They just have to sign the application.
Okay.
I mean, they will entertain a non-committal application. In other words, if you contact the Division of Maintenance about physical alterations permit and inquire and tell them what the situation is without actually sending them the $1,000 check, but they'll at least give you the outline of what is going to be required. And, I would suggest that you do that if you don't want to, actually spend the money right up front and then go to get your special use permit, but know that you're going to have to go back and get that.
Okay.
Because even if you get the special use permit and then they tell you you can't, you have to do all these things you didn't anticipate doing, I think it'd be in your best interest to find that out ahead of time.
What will the
Go ahead.
capacity of the school be?
So to start, they're looking at approximately 50 students. They are capped at a state level of 180 to 200, but they're looking at 50 students. And if there's more interest, they'll grow from there.
Any other questions from the board?
Yes, Mr. Flynn,
Go ahead.
could that be subject to the PAP? from
Well, it's a
right now?
recommendation to zoning.
Recommendation.
So zoning will ultimately make the decision anyway.
Okay.
We just either give a favorable or non-favorable recommendation.
Okay, thank you.
If I may, the zoning board could make that a condition.
A condition. That's all I was
They're
wondering.
just looking for a recommendation for a special use permit.
Okay, thank you.
Good question, though. Anybody else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion, Mr. Chairman, for a favorable recommendation to approve the special use permit for the Stonewall Academy to be located at 2052 Plainfield Pike. That's Assessors Plat 313, lots 2.1 and 16 in the RR5 zone, which is the former nursing home, the proposed use being a private elementary school. And just bear with me here. I'm going to get out my little findings of fact. As the proposed facility appears to have safe ingress and egress for motor vehicles, the property has sufficient off-street parking for a small elementary school. There are adequate trash storage and delivery areas for the proposed use. The existing building is serviced by a private on-site wastewater treatment system and private water. The existing utilities are adequate for a school. There is existing screening and buffering that is sufficient. The applicant proposes no change to the exterior lighting, and any sign shall be reviewed by the Planning and Zoning Department prior to the issuance of a building permit. Proposed use is compatible with the surrounding residential zone. The proposal is consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, and this project should have no detrimental impacts to the public health, safety, welfare, or morals upon the issuance of a special use permit. And I'd like to incorporate the planning director's report into my recommendation.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Clooney. Do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second by Mr. Anderson. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next on the agenda, we have another recommendation to the Zoning Board of Review. It's a recommendation to zoning for special use permit. Robert and Deborah Scowling. Applicant and owner, Robert and Deborah Scowling. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to construct a 32 by 50 in-law to existing home, including a rear bump out for a new kitchen for existing home. AP 314, lot 91, zone RR5. Address is 310 Lewis Farm Road.
Aye.
Want to just give us a brief
We're building a 24.
name and address for
I'm
the
sorry,
record, please?
Deborah Scaling,
Thanks.
310 Lewis Farm Road.
Thank you.
We're building a 24 by 40 in-law apartment with the extra 10 by 12 additional structure to the existing structure. Like the square footage, I was told to put that in there like that rather than I had 24 by 40.
Yep.
And then the extra 10 by 12. And I was told by planning to add it together. So the
120
square footage is off.
Okay.
So it's really 1,080 square feet, where if you look at that and you take it, it's 1,600.
And you live in the main house, or you're going to live in the in-law?
We're going to live in the in-law.
Oh, so
My
you had to
daughter,
get-
my-
but you had to give them a new kitchen to get the in-laws. I think
She lived like that for 32 years.
we
but
have
that's
the
okay.
we have the plan here. Yeah.
We're all in the midst of downsizing.
You can continue if you have anything else to add.
Anything else?
That's it. As far as I know,
Okay.
everything is included.
Any other questions for the applicant from the board? You have a septic now?
Yes,
So the septic design is okay for what you're adding on, or you have to increase the size?
we've got to,
You'll have to increase it.
Mhm.
Okay. Anybody else? Okay, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I'll make a motion
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
to have it. Yeah, favorable recommendation to the zoning board for special use permit, project name Scaling. Owner applicant Robert Ever Scaling. Address is 310 Lewis Farm Road. AB 314 lot 91, zoned RR5. Single dwelling is existing use now. They're proposing an in-law unit dwelling. So he needs a special use permit to construct this dwelling. Finding the facts and the requirements as far as safe egress and ingress, the property has permanent access to a public street. It has an existing driveway and proposed garage. The proposal will provide for safe ingress and egress of vehicles. The requirement of off-street parking, the property has sufficient off-street parking. The requirement of trash, storage, et cetera. The property has adequate space for this trash and storage, trash receptacles, and for trash pickup. The requirement of the utilities is already pre-existing. The applicant, they have submitted plans for Rhode Island DEM alteration for their OWTS system for one additional bedroom. As far as the requirement of compatibility, the abutting lots and the adjacent properties are single-family residential. The proposal is compatible with the abutting lots. The proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan. SUP if granted will create conditions amicable to the public health and safety. The applicant is issued a special use permit. If the applicant is issued this permit, then the project should have no detrimental impacts to public health, safety, and welfare or morals. I'd like to incorporate the planning director's report.
Okay, I have a motion by Mr. Anderson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Reyes. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Opposed? Hearing none. Motion carries. Good
Thank
luck.
Thank you. So, Mr. Anderson is agreeing you would have pronounced skate.
I messed it up, right? Okay, next is 7.3, recommendation to zoning board of review, special use permit, bond renovation, applicant and owner Michael Tedeschi and Elizabeth St. Pierre. Applicant is seeking a special use permit to renovate an existing barn into a one-bed, one-bath accessory dwelling unit on 39-acre parcel with one existing home, AP 309, Lot 3, 5, 662 Perry Hill Road. Hi, Mike.
How you doing?
Hi.
Mike Tedeschi, 662 Curry Hill Road. My wife Elizabeth St. Pierre. We have an existing barn. I call it a barn, but it's kind of built like a house. We want to convert it into an efficiency for my mom. And we have, everything's pretty much in line. We have an appointment with DEM and Sammy Swasser next week. We'll be digging the soil sample. We are putting a ISDS system in. Has water and electric already to it. Just never seen an animal in it. My mom's coming back from Florida. We lost our stepdad, so she's moving back
Sorry to
home.
hear that.
And she's still very independent. And that's only probably 100 feet from the house, so she'll be independent, but yet be right there. If she needs anything.
Great to do it.
Yep.
Any questions from the board?
No.
I just have one question.
Go ahead, Mr. Anderson.
Learning moment for myself. Because it's a, however you would say, it, a dwelling structure, does that mean like someday that's two houses? Like it doesn't have to be someone in the family someday? I'm just curious.
But let me explain to you how this is going to work. The way the ordinance reads, if you have a minimum of 20 acres, you need 20 acres. So without the 20, you couldn't do it. You're allowed to request a special use permit from the zoning board of review for an accessory family dwelling unit. He can never subdivide the property. When he sells it, he'll sell it with two houses on it. That's the way the ordinance reads.
But I do have enough frontage where I could put another house on my property.
So you got 39 acres.
Yeah, and I have over 700 foot of frontage, so that was one of my options. Should I build my
He
mom?
couldn't cut a piece out.
Yeah,
Right.
that's why I thought something like this, you can almost turn it into a rental.
No, you don't want to do that. It takes
I
a
don't want
long
to ruin
time.
the footprint. I mean, I live out in the middle of the woods, and that's why I like it.
I just want Thank you.
This was, for what he wants to do at this time, it was cleaner, neater, easier than doing a subdivision, cutting the lot out, going through all.
I just went through that.
Yeah.
You're doing the right thing, believe me.
I mean, the barn is all 2x6 exterior, construction. I mean, it's built like a house.
Perfect. Glenn just wanted to know if he could put another house. That's what I'm looking at right now.
And,
I don't have enough acres.
You gotta get 5 first, don't you?
if anybody's gonna move into it, maybe we will move into it, downsize and have our daughter live in our house. If it's-
That's what we're doing.
Yeah, I mean,
Same thing. We're getting to that age, Mike.
yeah, you ain't kidding. And my mom took care of me, so I want to take care of her, so.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
Nice.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? All right, I'll entertain a motion.
Chair, I'll make a motion if you'll have it.
Absolutely.
Money's awarded. Favorable recommendation for a special use permit to go to the zoning board, project name barn renovation. Address 662 Perry Hill Road, AP 309 Lot 3, Zone RR5 residential, existing use now is a single family. The proposed single family dwelling accessory dwelling structure. Applicant seeking special use permit to convert it to such. Just going over the findings of facts, the requirements and the analysis as far as egress and ingress. Property has permanent physical access to Perry Hill Road via existing driveway. The proposal will provide for safe egress and ingress of vehicles. The requirement of ability off-street parking, the property has sufficient off-street parking. The requirement as far as trash goes, the property has adequate space for storage, trash, receptacles, and room for trash. As far as the requirement of location, utilities are pre-existing. The applicants will have to submit plans to the RID to ensure that the proper WTS is adequate for the addition of 1-bedroom accessory dwelling structure. The requirement as far as compatibility with the abutting lots. The adjacent properties are single-family residential uses, supposedly compatible with all the abutting lots. Comprehensive plan compatibility. The proposal is consistent with the comprehensive plan. If the special use permit is granted, amicable public and health and safety, welfare, and morals. Any conditions as such, the applicant, if he's issued the special use permit, then this project should have no detrimental impacts to public health, safety, welfare, or morals. And with this motion, I'll incorporate the director's report.
I have a motion by Mr. Anderson. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Lukowitz. All those in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none. Good luck.
Thank you.
Okay, next on the agenda, recommendation to zoning board of review for special use permit. Williams addition, applicant and owner, Brian A. Williams and Stephanie Williams. Applicant is seeking a special use permit for a 1,475 square foot addition to an existing non-conforming dwelling, AP 323 lot 115 zone RR5, and the address is 110 Hamburger Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman and members of the board. For the record, Joseph Brennan on behalf of the applicants, Brian Williams and Stephanie Williams. As stated clearly by the chairman, the applicant is here before you seeking a recommendation, hopefully a positive one, to the zoning board for the special use permit. What they're looking to do is add a 1,475 square foot addition to an existing non-conforming dwelling. The applicant has been a longtime resident of the town of Coventry. He's lived at this property for approximately 11 to 12 years. He really likes the town of Coventry. He really likes this property. His wife and him have fallen in love with it. They have a 20-year-old son who doesn't really look like he's going anywhere anytime soon, but that's okay. We all love our own family. And so what they're looking to do is to put on this addition so that they can live more comfortably and live out their retirement years and continue to enjoy the town of Coventry and the property that they have. If you look at this lot, It's one of the most unique lots that I've ever seen in my practice. I jokingly talked to the planner and said it almost looks like the state of Texas. It has egress with a driveway easement from the lot that you can't even see on the screen right now that continues to go on the upper left-hand corner. As part of this application, the applicant would abandon that aspect of it for himself, utilize his own property and not have to go over somebody else's. It's one of those really unfortunate circumstances. This is exactly the reason why planning and zoning boards are created. When you get these odd creative lots for these property owners and they're just trying to utilize it and live it out the best that they can, and you have to make those tough decisions to try to help assist them. He explored every option that he could. If he wouldn't even be before you today because he would subdivide and buy that portion of the land that you see right in front of his house that creates this itty bitty setback. The only reason he can't do that is because that other lot that it's on would then now become non-conforming on its own. It already is, but it would be further non-conforming, which means it would not be supported by the comprehensive plan of this town, and you couldn't allow that type of subdivision to happen. Otherwise, he wouldn't be here. If it wasn't for that odd, crazy shape right in front of you, he would be over 40 feet away from that front yard setback. So with that being said, I looked through the regulations for the special use permit. I've heard everything that you said today for the other applications as well. This has no bearing for the public health safety in a negative way. The trash receptacles will all be the same. And in reality, this is probably an improvement because he'll no longer be utilizing a different property for access to his own. He'll completely utilize his own with the configuration of the garage. And additionally, because of the extra space and bedrooms, he'll be upgrading the sewer system that he has as well, which will be another benefit because some of these can be old. With that said, I do have the applicant here if the board has any questions. I know the board has a difficult decision in front of them, but this is honestly the reason why these boards are created for exactly this type of situation. Thank you.
Well, one comment I can say, it's on Johnson's Pond, so most old property on Johnson's Pond is non-conforming because the zoning was done much after the summer cottages were on. The other good thing I liked about it is it would get rid of the cesspool, which is a benefit for housing on the water. The only thing I am concerned about is the setback. I don't know if you can shrink it, but 1.7 feet is tough. So those are my comments. Anybody else on the board have any?
I'm confused.
Go ahead, Rick.
The plan as far as where the driveway access is today and where it's proposed. I have a plan that shows.
I can approach the screen?
Sure. Yeah, I've got the same blue shading, but it might help. Yeah, if we could just point that out.
The blue shading that exists, that's what it is today. That's over on the left. As part of the application, you see the part that actually attaches to Hamburger Road. He would utilize that and he would pull through to where the garage would be.
So the 35 feet of frontage, that's where the driveway will come through?
Yes.
On the right side. Yeah.
Okay. And now I see a shed and then I see an existing building, but so the garage is like where the covered carport is? You're going to put it over there?
Yeah, the garage would be underneath if you see the floor plans.
Okay, it's underneath it. Okay, yeah, I didn't have everything.
It's part of the
up.
addition.
Okay. All right.
And I know that the chairman mentioned that 1.7 feet is very small, and I do agree with that. I did speak to the applicant and asked if he'd be able to modify the plan. He said, I can modify it for a couple of feet, and I can tell the chairman that we'll offer that as well to the zoning board. And I'll leave it up to this board whether they decide that should come in their recommendation. But we'll offer that to the zoning board to make that decision as well. But we did want to just, that's the proposal before you. So we didn't want to alter it beforehand just so that we had the correct advertising. But I do know as part of my practice that you can always ask for less relief at these hearings. You just can't ask for more.
And what did you say the size of the existing residential dwelling was?
I think it's approximately 970 square feet. but I don't have that exact.
Okay,
number in
so
front
it's just under 1,000, we'll say, and then you're going to add 1,475. And of the 1,475, is that all living area or because the garage is down below?
I'll have the applicant speak to that.
Hi, name and address for the record.
10 Hamburger Road. That it does not count the garage. That's square footage.
Okay, so
1,475.
It's living space.
okay, so you're basically increasing the size of the dwelling 150%.
Correct.
If I did my math correct.
Close.
Yeah.
Yeah, 1,500. Yeah.
Well, my concern is similar, and it's not just the 1.7. I know you can modify, but I mean, that's that's a lot of lot coverage for something that's already non-conforming. I mean, we talk about the road, the amount of the distance from the abutting property. Now, let me just take, okay, so that's, okay, so the Cabral's property, basically, they just don't use that end. It just kind of extends down there.
And in discussions with them, they were even willing to sell it to the applicant, but that's where that was a dead end because.
It's already non-conforming.
Yeah, it's not going to do either of you any good, really, to go about that. They'll end up non-conforming. You'll still be non-conforming.
But you can see they're not here in opposition, and they've never provided any documentation otherwise. We've had their full support.
And usually on these recommendations, we don't get abutters, even although they're aware of this, they go to the zoning board meeting. My concern is, and I'm just being candid with you, is that's an awful big addition. And I know you explained you've got the couple that's there and their son, that's 3 people in a 2,500 square foot house. And you're looking for relief to go less than 2 feet from the abutting property line in what's already non-conforming lot. But that's just my thought. We'll leave it at that.
My opinion is if they could shrink that down, the 1.7 is, I mean, we're just doing a recommendation. It's really on zoning.
I understand, but in my practice, I do know a positive recommendation from planning can mean a lot.
I do like getting rid of the cesspool, but believe me, that's a good thing about it. Any other questions from any board members?
Just a statement. Just based on, no, it's not just based on we could shrink it or will shrink it if necessary. I mean, I need to make a recommendation on favorable or unfavorable for any, without having, right now, it just doesn't seem applicable, that's all. Just on hearsay, well, we can shrink it 3 or 4 feet. I just if I was going to make a recommendation, I need to see that.
Well, they would have to come back with another plan.
So,
I agree.
Not so much to go forward with the possibility of them shrinking it and they propose something in zoning. I'd like to see it.
Yeah,
See it change in front.
we just wanted to be candid to the board that we understand that 1.7 is tough. That was the original plan. We sat down, we discussed with the planner himself. He informed us that he had that feeling as well. And so after everything had been submitted, we said that we would just come here and be forthwith. And I've done that on before in front of boards on the fly. You amend the application for less relief. I would prefer not to say an exact number, but if the board would feel more comfortable with it being 3.5 feet, we can offer that to you today. And we would support that being put in the recommendation. But we wanted to offer that to zoning instead because we feel as though they, no disrespect to this board, but then we know that they make the final decision and maybe that might be the best forum for that decision on the exact number that they would be comfortable with.
Right. No matter what the recommendation is, you're still going to go to zoning.
Yes.
So.
Even if we came up with a distance number, that doesn't preclude the applicant from still constructing another 1,400 square foot addition. And the point I was trying to make is you've already got a non-conforming situation and you're adding 150% to the size of the dwelling. So although it's a combination of both the lot coverage and the offset, unless there's a way to keep all the distances from the side as are currently today, like moving it forward one way or the other. I mean, I don't know, but we've had applications like this come before us, and in some cases we've made favorable recommendations, unfavorable recommendations, or just not got a motion and made no recommendation and let the application proceed to the zoning board. So, but I'll candidly tell you, I'm not in favor of making a favorable recommendation, but I'll go with whatever the board wants.
And this is an RR3. This wouldn't conform to an R20, I don't believe, because of the frontage. And the setback wouldn't conform either.
Yeah.
So even an R20, it would not conform.
As you stated, around this entire pond, it just was
I know.
created that years ago. And now we've got owners in these tough situations trying to upgrade their homes.
Any other questions from the board members?
They can, looking at this, they can reconfigure this. I agree with him. It has to be changed.
I'll entertain a motion for or against the project for a recommendation. Anybody wants to make a motion for or against? Well, we in the past made no recommendation. It's up to the board.
I'd be more amenable to no recommendation.
I'll second that.
Okay, it sounds like we're going to make no recommendation. It's better than an unfavorable.
I agree. Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming out, guys. Thank you.
You all set? You need a break? Or you good? Okay. Everybody all set? Nobody needs a break? Okay, we're going to go to new business for discussion and or action, public hearing. 8.1 preliminary plan, major land development project, proposed retail store. Owner Michael W. and Kimberly K. Hodges, applicant Garrett Homes LLC, proposed to demolish an existing building and the construction of a new retail store with associated parking and site improvements. AP 56 lots 9 and 11, zone VMC, 495 Washington Street and 0 MacArthur Boulevard.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and members of the Honorable Planning Board. Again, Joseph Brennan on behalf of the applicant, Garrett Homes. This application this is the second time you've now seen it. This is now before you for preliminary plan review. The application is for a proposed Dollar General. We'll be utilizing the property and combining through the subdivision process, the lot that you see that's on MacArthur Boulevard, and then again along Washington Street. The lot around MacArthur Boulevard, if you remember, we have a smaller amount of parking. That way we can utilize as much space as possible for landscaping for the abutting neighbors. I think we had 2 show up at the last hearing and they were concerned about that. I think we did it via Zoom at that point, if I remember correctly. And I think we've addressed their concerns. I don't see them here today. They did not show up at zoning. A different abutter showed up at zoning who isn't here today either. So I think that we've really worked really hard with the neighborhood to address their concerns. I know that when we come for preliminary, it's usually more of the heavy engineering that gets done in regards to drainage, water runoff, and other permitting. I did speak to the planner who did step out for a minute. Him and I had some discussions about that we may have to come back before the board for a final approval.
Because you don't have your checklist.
Yep, because the checklist isn't completed. I know that they have submitted some of the copies of the applications to the planner since. I'm not sure if that makes him or the board comfortable enough to move forward administratively with final, but we are at agreement with whatever the board's desire is. If they prefer us to come back, but I know Russell is an extremely good planner. So if there's trust in him as well, we would also welcome final administratively, but we don't, whatever the preference of the board. I do have the engineers here. If there's any certain engineering questions that the board has, as I mentioned at preliminary, that's where we usually show those calculations. And then we also did bring the landscape architect in with us today, Wayne Violet, because we know that was a big issue from the neighbors in case the board had questions on landscaping.
Yeah, I did have one. I went over to Edward Street, and as the person said on the meeting, that all those trees did get cut down. So there's really no buffer on the north end of the building. But you said that you would take care of the buffer.
Yeah, I'll have the landscape architect show you what he's planning on doing.
Okay.
Also, I'm not sure, do you have the PDF, the colored PDF available?
Name and address for the record, please.
Yes.
Thank you. Wayne Violet, Senior Landscape Architect, BL Companies. Address is 355 Research Parkway in Meriden, Connecticut.
Thank you.
Yep. We're going to be pulling up a exhibit that I think will help during this description. Black and white is fine as well. So
Is the store going to be the same size as the one in West Warwick and Coventry?
great question. I'll have someone from our team address the size of the store. Sure. As it relates to landscape, as we're pulling this up, I'll address that comment or question relating to the buffer. The existing buffer, as acknowledged, consists of some overstory canopy trees, but it is not an extensive or thick or wide existing buffer there. We've taken a look at the particular landscape plan that's being proposed. Hearing comments, we want to kind of strengthen that buffer, add a bit of width, add a bit of diversity with the plant material that's shown. If we do pull it up, you'll see it graphically, but I'll kind of describe that buffer that's along the western side of the property and along the kind of northern extents.
Before you do that, is this landscape plan LL1 or have you revised that?
The landscape plan is LL1.
The one we have in our packet?
Yes.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay.
Everyone should have that.
Just wanted to make sure it was current.
Yep.
Okay.
No, thanks for that clarity. We were going to pull it up here just for visual, but yes, you have that in front of you.
What type of plants are you going to?
Yeah. Yep. Yeah, that's a great question. So we'll start with the western side buffer, the area just to the west of the proposed building. That particular area, which our neighboring residential property, is very close to the lot line, very close. We need to do something there. There's a couple existing trees in that area that provide a little bit of verticality, but not a whole lot. So the proposed landscaping along that side includes Techni arborvitae evergreen trees. We have proposed 18 along that western side where we have that neighbor, that residential neighbor right to the left of the building or to the west of the building. We think that's going to be very critical to kind of strengthen that buffer, add some visual interest, kind of screen and block that particular side of the building. In addition to the landscaping, the plans show this that you have there. And just on the screen, this is just a rendered version. Sometimes it's easier to see than the black and white. So what we were just talking about was the southwestern side of the property. We've got the building highlighted a sandish brown color. Just to the left of that or just to the west of that building is where we're talking about adding that row of evergreen arborvitaes. We have proposed in the plan 18 in that particular location. In combination with the evergreen plant material that we're adding there is a 6-foot perimeter screening fence that is proposed along the west side of the property as well as the north side. So that kind of runs in addition to the landscaping there. The fence, the nice thing about that is that's really going to give you screening from 6 feet down. The plant material as it grows is going to really kind of fill in and add verticality above that particular fence. If you're familiar with the Techni arborvitae, it's a little bit different than some of the very tight columnar arborvitaes. It's going to get a little bit bushier, a little bit more natural. It's actually quite nice. It can get up to about 15 feet tall. We think it's going to work well in that particular area. There is an existing pretty substantial tree as we get closer to Washington Street. So in the very southwest corner of the property, that's hugging the property line, and that is intended to stay. So those plants will work with that particular area. So just to kind of continue our tour, and stop me if we go too long or if you've heard enough, but we're going to continue the tour just north of the building, which is kind of where we have that elbow there. We are showing 3 of those existing shade or canopy type trees to remain in that area. The canopies on those trees are limbed up extensively, meaning the canopy height is, well higher than 20 feet in the air. So we wanted to put an emphasis on the kind of understory element of those particular trees. In that area, we have 1 shade tree proposed, which is in the kind of northwest corner above the building. And then we have 10 evergreen trees, again, using more of those kind of natural bushy evergreen arborvitaes in that particular zone. So we've got this kind of great elbow that kind of wraps around that corner of the building, where really our proposed building is closest to our residential neighbors. Again, we're going to keep the existing tree and plant material that's healthy and that's doing well, but again, their canopies are limbed up, so they're quite high and not providing a lot of year-round shading or screening rather. As we kind of turn around the corner to go to the northern end of the site, I know it's been talked about before, but that particular area is primarily comprised of an existing parking area that's being pulled out. And that area, we've added additional buffering into that particular zone. So the plant material that you see in a kind of L-shaped along the west side of the property and the north side, those consist of we have 8 evergreen trees and we have 2 shade trees in that particular area. The evergreen trees, we've got a little bit more room for those to grow. Arborvitaes are going to stay pretty tight and columnar. So in that particular area, we are proposing eastern white pine. Those are going in at a minimum of 6 foot in height. So they're going to be somewhere between the 6 and 8 foot range coming from the nursery. We typically will use the white pine because of their ability to kind of grow in this particular condition, fast growing. And it's really going to give you that kind of nice soft texture that you might see in this area if there was no development there. We're really trying to create that existing plant material that we would see in this particular site if there was no development. So that really is going to help to screen that particular north end of the site, which is actually quite nice because we're pulling out a lot of that pavement. We're restoring that area with less of a traditional lawn mix, but more of a conservation seed mix. That's going to end up being more of a mix of grasses and flowers in that particular end of the site. So quite nice and somewhat in comparison to what's there now. So that's a little bit of a walkthrough of kind of the buffer along the left-hand side. We spent a good amount of time trying to hear those comments, beef up the buffer that's there now. We do recognize there's a few trees. Most of them are limbed up. We want to kind of contribute and add to that buffer. I can answer or talk more landscaping, but I don't know if you had any pointed questions that we wanted to recognize or acknowledge.
Anybody else for landscape and design? Go ahead, Rick.
Two questions. The arborvitaes that are being used, there were 2 types. Are they deer resistant?
Yes. Yep. So the 2 types that we're proposing are Techni and Dark American.
Right.
Those are pretty typical that we would find in the trade, and they're going to do well for deer resistance. There are some arborvitaes that are identified really as deer candy. We sometimes joke that's kind of the case. These are 2 kind of hybrid cultivars that we use a lot and we feel very comfortable with. So.
And did you say pine?
Yeah, we have eastern white pine.
Right. How does that hold up in wind, like the storms?
Yeah, so eastern white pines, you may be very familiar with them. So initially, they're going to start out as small Christmas trees, 6 to 8 feet in height. As they get more mature and as they start to branch out, some of those lower limbs are going to come down. But that's 25 years down the road, we're adding some of that additional material that we have along these buffers. We're intending that's going to fill in. So it's typically the vulnerability to those particular trees is usually in the lower branches as they really get quite mature. So.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Anybody else on the board?
Just those eastern white pines.
Sorry, could you please, thank you so much. Thank you.
Hello. Those eastern white pines, they get to be about 40, 50 feet at best.
Yeah. Eastern white pines are going to grow and grow and not stop.
Yeah. Right. And there's no power lines and nothing there now, right? No utility lines in that section.
That's right. Right in that particular location, there wouldn't be any overhead conflicts.
Okay.
Yes.
Anybody else? Okay, I think we're good with the landscaping questions. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. And I did hear the proposed building size. So this one, we don't know the exact square footage of the other ones. We didn't build those. But we do know that ours is a little bit larger than theirs. We estimate to be about 900 square feet, probably to 1,000, that this one will be a little bit bigger than.
So it'll be a little bit bigger than the one in Coventry?
It will be,
Yeah,
yes.
this is the plus.
Yes,
Okay,
I knew what you meant.
that's good.
Anybody else on the board have any questions for the applicant?
So we have this memorandum from the engineering department, and I'm just curious, are these items going to be addressed, the construction details for the project, drainage structures, sewer structures added to the land development plans? I don't know if you're aware of this. Soil evaluation test pit need to be performed, location for underground infiltration system, stormwater design rules, HydroCAD calculations performed for the 1.2-inch rainfall event. And prior to final approval, you need RIDEM stormwater, a UIC permit, a physical alterations permit from RIDOT, Kent County Water Authority Service, Town of Coventry Commercial Sewer Connection Permit, and a soil erosion permit, and a lighting plan that needs to be added to the development plan showing the impacts of the abutting properties are minimized. Is all that's forthcoming? Is that what you were talking about earlier, prior to?
Yes, and now that the planner's back, he can correct me if I'm wrong. And then there may be some items that still are outstanding, of course, but I do think that they sent a lot of the applications, not of the approvals yet, to the planner. And I'm not sure if he had a chance to review them and if he's comfortable with them. But yes, all of those items will be addressed if they haven't already been. And when those approvals come in, we'll provide them to you.
I would feel comfortable you coming back for final,
We have no problem
since
with
you don't
that.
have all that. I don't know how the board feels, but I think we try to avoid final just for time and cost. But in this situation, I think coming back for final would make sense. Does the staff agree?
I agree. They haven't demonstrated
Right.
to the board that they have anything. They haven't gone to sewer subcommittee yet. They haven't appeared before the town council to get their sewer capacity.
Okay.
So I think they should come back before final.
I agree.
Get all their permits in place to demonstrate to the board that they have it. It's just, there's too much outstanding.
I agree. Because subject to that, it would be too much. I agree. It should come back for final.
So what's the point? I mean, tonight's meeting basically was just an update and a formality because they had 3 approvals that they need, and this is the middle one. But not much has really changed since master.
No, you could have come back for this meeting when you had everything.
Yeah,
But-
Can I just speak to that?
Yeah, I'm going to have the engineer speak to it, but I would also add that we are, it is still technically a phase that requires a vote. So we very much so appreciate the board entertaining us tonight. And then, but what has changed is we do have zoning approval. So that was a big step as well. That was a public hearing in its own entity.
Okay.
Yeah. The thing is with us, we can get if the preliminary approval is granted tonight, I just want to make sure we're clear on everything that's outstanding. And I've got 3 pages of stuff that we're going to have to read into the record and then the letter from the engineer. So I'm just trying to make sure that we have it all. Is it in the planning director's report or is it a combination of?
They only asked for 1 waiver. So I believe that I added quite a few more waivers to that checklist, I believe, inside the staff report. So
we'll do an
it
include.
is very.
We're going to do an including, but not limited to those items that are normally required for preliminary. I think that's the only way it's going to fly.
That sounds fair to me.
And again, if the board sought to grant an approval, you do know it's going to be a conditional approval on them getting all those permits. Okay.
Do you want to come up and
Yeah, I just want to.
name and address for the record?
Kimberly Mazowick, and I'm with BL Companies. Could you please spell your last name for me? Sure, MAS as in Sam, IUK. Thank you. You're welcome.
Thanks.
So I'm a senior project manager with BL Companies, and I haven't seen that list, but we followed these specific checklist requirements, and the drainage was submitted with all the calculations and everything. So really, to my knowledge, the only outstanding items were those permits, which we had filed all the applications for. And it's just a matter of receiving those and bringing them back, which originally I was, I know we've gone back and forth here a couple times with Russell, but I kind of was under the impression that we had everything else buttoned up and it was just getting the permits. Again, I haven't seen that list, so hopefully we'll get a copy of that. But I think we've followed the checklist items that are, specifically on the application. Should be there.
Mr. Chair.
Go ahead.
May I? Okay, thanks. Just to confirm on the, before a motion is made, you ask, it says checklist, item number 80 was, just wasn't met, but I look on the checklist sheet and it looks like it was met, number 80. So I don't know if that's still a waiver or not.
Yeah, they had checked it off that it had been done.
Oh,
At master plan, written confirmation that the town sewer subcommittee has reviewed the plans for proposed sewer service and has indicated whether sewer service is or is not available and will or not be required. Do you have that?
Yeah. So originally, when we started with this, I believe there was an email from the town. That's what we included. And I think that's what was noted. So it was correspondence with them as far as we filed the application. That was before we filed the application when we had that email.
But you never appeared before the sewer subcommittee
No,
itself.
you're
And I
correct.
have no correspondence from the chairman of the sewer subcommittee.
Okay.
Do you know what I'm saying? It's a,
Yes.
just like.
No. Okay, yes, I understand. I know we have to go through that process because you explained that very well in the beginning. We just had those initial emails and I'd have to look to see. But if that's what, I understand that we need to go to the board and do all that formality, but before we even started down this road, we had correspondence with them. That would have been, I think, early on in one of those other applications.
Yeah.
Was there
It's not
anything
going to be anything other than, they meet once a month. So now you've got to appear before the board. You got to but usually that's done
Yes.
before you come in for this. That's what I'm getting at. Things are out of
Okay.
order.
You
here.
usually have approval before
need
you
to-
come to us. Correct?
Correct.
For gallonage, yeah.
Okay.
On all of them, Kent County Water, all those things are usually done well in advance. And then you just would have come to us, let's say 60 days from tonight, and then we wouldn't have had all this in front of us to add or accept. And you would have already had all that stuff and you could have checked the boxes. So
Okay.
that's I think it's just probably,
Misunderstanding.
you haven't been in Coventry before,
Right.
maybe.
Yeah.
before.
Because
Misunderstand.
normally we try to avoid final.
The only thing
Yeah.
Go
Yeah,
ahead.
no, I know. And at the beginning, Russell said it was sometimes it's administrative and sometimes you come back.
I'm just puzzled though. The engineer's comments were based on plans he received in July 30th, 2021. And the date on his memorandum is August 6th. And you're saying that you were never provided. And it's not that he didn't get the plans. He reviewed the plans and he said certain things need to be shown on the development plan, whether the calculations were given to him like in something like this, but then they still needed to be part of the plan set. Is that what Bruce's comments were?
I don't know how the date of when the plan set was submitted, but it was probably submitted prior to that memo coming out. So do you have the date on it?
It says July 30th on the
No, that's the second set. That's not the original set.
land development plans. It's July 30th.
So that one we may have already
August 5th?
responded to if it was that early on.
August 5th was when the original submission came out. You said that letter came out the 6th?
The memo's dated the 6th and he said he
And
looked
there were
at,
no revised plans that had been submitted, so.
and the plans were dated July 30th.
Right.
And so I guess what I'm asking,
So I haven't
have the
seen that.
construction details for the project, such as the proposed drainage structures, sewer structures, sidewalk curbing and pavement. Have those been added to the
No.
land development plans that you
No.
have in your office?
I don't believe so.
They should be on.
How about the soil evaluation test pit? Needs
That-
to be
We want
performed.
soil evaluation test pits at this location over here.
Because that's where the underground, right.
Right. And So we haven't done that yet. Normally we wait for approval and then we verify it. We understand that if something is, we usually use conservative numbers in the design and then we check it after approval because obviously we don't want to go too far before we know that we will have an approved viable project. So,
Are there HydroCAD calculations for 1.2 rainfall event
yes.
in order to
Just
size the water quality treatment structure?
Yes, that's all in there. There's a
lighting plan. Is that on the development plan yet that shows the impact to the abutting properties?
note. We have that. We do have it, but you don't have it. It just wasn't
Okay.
on that checklist.
All right. So
I wish I would have
basically,
had that.
any outstanding items in this memo would probably be the best way to address that.
Yes, that should not be a problem.
And
I
if
mean,
you
this
need
is
a
really
copy of this,
simple-
I'm sure we
I
can get
do.
you one.
Yes,
Okay,
please.
sure.
The other thing, while Kim's up there, if you don't mind, if I just, I brought it up, Kim and I have discussed it, I brought it up at the last meeting. I didn't see anything with respect to design to tie it into the traffic signal.
There was a comment on there that said to remove and replace the loop detectors. That should be on the layout on SP.
It was just
I will-
that, they didn't show any design, they didn't show the wire, nothing, they just said to replace existing loop detectors.
Yes, that's good.
Well, won't that be up to the Department of Transportation when the physical alterations permit is approved?
Right.
It is, but I just wanted to make sure it was included.
Yeah.
I missed that, and I apologize if I missed that.
The other option would be to just get one of the cameras for the top of the point. So, I mean, you could put either or on these plans and then see
Right.
what DOT prefers.
Yeah, we filed with DOT and we haven't gotten comments back yet, but I'm sure we'll have
How long ago was that? Because
a couple weeks ago.
I was going to say they're usually about 3 weeks to get the first round
Yeah,
of comments.
yeah, I'm expecting we should have something back out as soon.
Okay. This is a public hearing, correct, Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
Thank you.
Any other questions before I open up public hearing?
Mr. Chair, just was it, so then was the stipulation number 5 satisfied for that wouldn't be a stipulation at this point? They just prove that they do have the vehicle detection system that we're asking for stipulation to get. Is that just satisfied?
I'm looking to see, she said it was called out on the site plan.
Yeah, I either looked on the demolition plans or yes.
All right, this is the site plan.
Mr. Chairman, if I might, Mr. Anderson, it's going to be addressed by the physical alterations permit anyway. So I know you're over there probably trying to formulate how you would make a motion. So
Nothing you were.
yeah. And that's fine. You go ahead. You take a stab at it. But what I was getting at is what you might want to do is, list those applications and say including but not limited to those items that I'm going to read off that are in part of the planning director's report if they have not already been addressed. And then that way you kind of got it. And then when they come back for final, we can narrow it down. That's just a suggestion in the interest of time. I don't see a lot of people here from the public tonight, so I don't think we're gonna.
Okay, I'll entertain a motion to open up public hearing.
Motion to open public hearing.
Motion by Mr. Mattson. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lukowicz. Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is open. Does anybody from the public like to comment on this application?
There's 2 requests on.
There's 2 online? Okay. Bill, name and address for the record, please.
Yes, this is Bill Grubb. I'm representing Noramco across the street at 425 Washington Street. My physical address is 4198 Post Road, East Greenwich.
Thank you, Bill.
Yeah, we received the notice about 5 days ago at our office in Wilmington. We recently purchased the plant across the street, which has been a continuously operating plant since 1846. And I guess that, listening to what's been presented, I was happy to hear the tree is going to be there. I love the tree when we come out of the driveway. I do have a little bit of a concern, having a restaurant across the street and knowing when restaurants typically operate, which is in the evening, that doesn't really interfere with us moving tank trucks in and out of the facility onto Washington Street. I do recognize that there is a red light there, but honestly, having a retail Dollar General across the street and knowing that we're moving 18-wheelers and tank trucks in and out of the driveway across the street immediately, right there, it's just something that I would like to object to.
Okay, and the restaurant is going to be removed.
Yes, I do.
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's going to be totally redeveloped based on what I've heard tonight. Again, I got a PDF of the notice that we received at our corporate office. I got the PDF Monday and put this on for my calendar. So I'm sorry I'm late to the party.
Not at all, Bill. Thank you for your comments. Is there any other concerns?
No, the traffic is the main one. And again, it's Bill Grubb, GRUBB.
Thank you, Bill.
Thank you.
Anybody else? You there, Joyce?
Yes, yes. Can you hear me now?
Yes, name and address for the record, please.
Certainly. Joyce Kaczynski, 201 MacArthur Boulevard.
Thank you, Joyce.
I via Zoom attended your last meeting, if your last meeting was June 23rd.
Yes.
And since at that time, I discussed that I had no objection to Dollar General going in. I just had an objection to a sign going up on MacArthur Boulevard. Did we make any progress with that? Because I don't really think that was brought up.
I don't believe there'll be illuminated sign there. There will be a small sign with an entrance, I believe. If you want to come up and.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chairman. Yes, there won't be an illuminated sign on that road. There may be a small monument sign, but any sign that we do would be within conformance of the regulations of the town, and we would have to apply for sign permits as well.
Okay, but I rode the following day after your meeting, I went up to the Dollar General up at the old Maple Route, and their side entrance is Hockney Hill Road, and there is no monument sign there. So I don't understand why we have to have one on MacArthur Boulevard.
Well, just to clarify, a monument sign is a low standing sign. It's usually, I don't want to give an exact calculation because I don't have a sign plan in front of me, but it's usually no more than 4 or 5 feet off the ground, usually set back from the property line a couple of feet as well, versus an illuminated freestanding sign, which is usually about 8 to 10 feet in the air and can comprise of 30 to 60 square feet aside. So we're not proposing the illuminated freestanding sign. And if we were to, we would have to come and get the proper permitting through the channels. But so it would be a low sign if we were to propose any.
Okay, all of that you just stated, I have understood from the first meeting. We object to a sign at all on MacArthur Boulevard, especially since there isn't one at Hockney Hill Road for Dollar General, which is the same side entrance, so to speak.
I might offer this. I'm sure there's a reason that you want to put a sign here one way or the other. I mean,
Traffic flow.
So maybe you could explain. And let me ask you this. Will you be able to visually see the Dollar General store from MacArthur Boulevard?
Yes, you should be able to. Yes, at certain angles, yes, you would be able to see it from MacArthur Boulevard. You would certainly see it from Washington Street, right, which is a busier road, which is my understanding.
I was just wondering if they were putting the small enter and exit sign on MacArthur Boulevard because of Moore's Garage being on the corner, so people knew that they could go in and go out that way. So similar to the little McDonald's enter exit, or like they have at some of the banks on the driveways that are usually further away from the building. That's what I understood it to be. Not even 4 or 5 feet high. I thought it was just going to be a little enter sign, but I'm not quite sure what you're proposing. And obviously, I don't know if Ms. Kaczynski objects to any sign period, or if so.
And I'm not sure if we know what we're proposing at this time because it's not normally something in the process that we've gotten to yet. But since we are coming back for final, I'll offer to the board that I'll reach out to the applicant, make sure he connects with Dollar General, find out what they were proposing, and we'll have something for you at final.
And if you don't put a sign, the asphalt will be clearly marked.
Yes.
With arrows.
Yes.
Enter and exit.
Yes.
I would think it would mainly be for traffic flow. People are going to know that you can go in that way after it's there for a little while.
I agree.
And I agree with Joyce. I don't think there should be an illuminating sign on MacArthur Boulevard because that's a neighborhood.
Well, they wouldn't put an illuminated. They were just going to put a monument.
Sign.
Okay. We'll have something for you though at the next meeting.
Can I just ask one more thing?
Sure, go ahead.
Did Mr. Brennan say there was a zoning meeting in July on this?
Yes.
Was it July 7th? Only because I could not get on and I was told later it was canceled.
I'm looking through my notes to try to see if I can find an agenda that I have in my file.
I was late in getting on because my mother passed away 2 days before it.
Sorry to hear that, Joyce.
Yeah, thank you. And when I did attempt to get on, I could not get on at all. And I found out very shortly afterwards that they said two of the members of the board weren't able to attend the meeting, so they did not have the meeting. And now I've gotten a certified letter for next week's. Oh, no, I went to the planning board and I did get the information and agenda for the September 1st zoning, but I feel bad I missed the last one.
So the planner informed me that the zoning meeting was August 4th. So in my brain, I think I was just thinking it was a couple of days earlier in July.
Okay.
It may have been continued. I do a lot of these hearings, so I don't always remember exactly what for reasons why, but it may have been continued because they didn't have a quorum and they pushed it a week. But I don't have an answer for that.
I just really want to know for myself.
We do have a positive.
So they did, Joyce, they did get a decision from zoning.
And the decision was to go ahead?
It was positive, correct? For what you asked for?
We received an approval for our application.
Which was for a building variance, size
For
variance.
more than 10,000 square feet, because we're proposing 10,640. That was the only variance that we needed.
Okay.
So
Thank you
had
for
the
that.
building, well, okay, I don't believe it.
Yeah, and
Thank you
everything
for-
else Joyce has done here, so you didn't really miss anything.
All right. I just opposed to the sign. That's it, guys.
Okay,
Thank you.
very
Thank you
much.
for the update.
I have a question for the director of the zoning official. Is this? I know the building is zoned for this use, but the lot in the back, does that go outside of is it general business, or is this whole thing not legal non-conforming? Oh, there we go.
Let me just turn on the zone. Okay, the light green is the Village Main Street Commercial.
Okay.
The orange is your R20
Yep,
residential.
yep. So that lot is zoned for Village Main Street Commercial, where the entrance is going off MacArthur Boulevard. That's not residential. Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Wes. We have anything else from the public? Anybody else want to get on? Okay, I'll make a motion to close public hearing.
Motion to close public hearing.
Motion by Mr. Mattson. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Reyes. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, public hearing is now closed. Any other questions from the board for the applicant? Not, I'll entertain a motion.
After all that.
Rick, I'd like to entertain it.
Okay. Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion to approve the preliminary plan application for a proposed retail store, major land development Owners Michael W. and Kimberly K. Hodis. Applicant Garrett Holmes LLC, located at 495 Washington Street, Assessors Plat 56, lots 9 and 11, both zone Village Main Street Commercial. It's a former restaurant. They're proposing a retail store. Everyone by this time seems to know it's a Dollar General. The applicant proposes to merge both lots 9 and 11 to construct a 10,640 square foot building for a proposed retail use. Let's see here. The project appears to be consistent with the town's comprehensive plan, and that the comprehensive plan notes that the purpose of village commercial district is to provide a land use category that will support a variety of less intense type land uses, including retail, services, light industrial, office, and residential uses. This proposed retail store is consistent with the comprehensive plan. The proposal will not likely have any significant environmental impacts considering the existing use of the property. The subdivision will be reviewed by the town engineer and RIDEM to ensure that the project conforms to both local and state regulations with respect to stormwater management and the implementation of best management practices. The subject property is zoned Village Main Street Commercial. The applicant has already received zoning board approval for a dimensional variance for the size of the building. All other aspects of the project meet the current requirements in the Village Main Street Commercial Zone. This approval comes with, subject to the applicant obtaining the following approvals and any others that may be required. Approval from the Coventry Fire District, approval from the Rhode Island Department of Environmental Management for both a RIPD's permit for a RIPD's permit and or a UIC. Approval from the Department of Transportation for a physical alterations permit. Approval from the Town Sewer Subcommittee and the Town Council for connection for the sewer service. Approval from Kent County Water Authority. Approvals from National Grid related to gas and electric to be submitted and coordinated. A soil erosion and sediment control plan to be submitted and approved by the town engineer, and accommodations for cable and phone service. The applicant has requested relief for various checklist items that have not been submitted. Checklist item 45, plans approved by the fire marshal. Checklist item 74, confirmation from the Department of Environmental Management pursuant to RIDEM rules and regulations governing freshwater wetlands. Checklist item 78, written confirmation that sewer services is or is not available and will or will not be required. And if required, written permission from the town council, the sewer subcommittee, or any other appropriate agency. Checklist item 80, written confirmation that the sewer subcommittee has reviewed plans for the proposed sewer service and has indicated whether sewer service is or is not available and will or will not be required. Checklist item 85, proof of asbestos and lead paint surveys provided by a registered engineer or certified inspector and filed with the Department of Health. Checklist 92, the physical alterations permit from the State Department of Transportation for any connection or construction work adjacent to the state highway where there's a change of use. Store, we've already got the zoning stipulations. Let me see. Checklist items numbers 29 and 28 should be added to the plan set. All waivers should be resolved prior to final plan approval. I would like to incorporate the town engineer's staff report, which is the one that I had in front of me, incorporated into this decision, and all of the items that are outlined in his memo dated August 6, 2021, which have not been addressed, should be addressed prior to coming before us for final approval. The applicant should appear before the Planning Commission for final approval. And we talked about the physical alterations permit for the loop detector. And I'd like to incorporate the planning director's report into my motion.
Okay, I have a favorable motion from Mr. Colonian. Do I have a second?
I second.
Second by Ms. Lukowitz. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Preliminary plan is granted.
Thank you very much for your time. Thank you.
It's nice not to have to do a roll call.
Yeah, I know. Hey, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Mr. Mattson, second.
Second.
Second by Mr. Reyes, all in favor?
Aye.
Meeting's adjourned. Thank you.